Hi everyone, this is Arcadius and welcome back to Naval. Today we'll be reviewing the second set of torpedoes for Edinburgh. However, in between the time that I made my first video for the ship and now, she has had a sister ship come out, and I have renamed her Sheffield. So the ship itself is still exactly the same, she just has a new skin, but besides that she's still a pretty decent ship, I would say. So the first set of torpedoes that we reviewed went out to 13.6 kilometers, did 12,400 damage at a speed of 52 knots with a rate of fire of 0.71 rounds a minute, a detectability range of 1.3 kilometers, and a flood chance of 109.76%. Now, the main reason why we chose these torpedoes is because of the rate of fire. 0.71 rounds a minute is pretty decent, considering you only have a triple launcher on each side. That being said, you can also equip these torpedoes, which do 17,300 damage, go out to 8.4 kilometers, do 64 knots, only have a rate of fire of 0.50 rounds a minute though, detectability range of 1.3 kilometers, and a torpedo flood chance of 153.14%. So the main differences is that you have higher damage, a higher torpedo speed, and a better flood chance. However, you lose 5.2 kilometers and 0.21 rounds a minute in read, load, and rate of fire. However, with the increased speed, you should be able to hit your targets quicker and more efficiently, and with the increased damage, you should be able to dish out more pain whenever you do hit. However, I do also want to let you know, this ship is not very focused on torpedoes. They're mainly as a deterrence or as a last-ditch effort. You are not a torpedo craft by any means. You are very much so focused on your main guns and anti-aircraft defenses. With that, let's toss it into a game and see how we can use these 8.4 kilometers to our advantage. Alright, and here ourselves a game. 1 carrier, 2 battleships, 4 cruisers, and 2 destroyers. So if you remember correctly, the thing about this ship is that she has high explosive shells as well as long fused armor piercing shells. She is the only cruiser in the game currently that can equip these shells. She's kind of like a one-off special cruiser, just like Mikhail Kutuzov with her semi armor piercing shells. So let's start moving. She is very good with her high explosive to start with, and only switch to MAP when the target and opportunity arises. You can only really use MAP on bow-in targets or directly astern targets, or even areas where your high explosive is just shattering. Just switch over there to MAP and hopefully you'll get better results. But for the most part, MAP is not very good in the 6-inch gun caliber, and it does not work as normal armor piercing does on the broadside. If you use it on broadside, it'll either overpen or shatter and maybe just get a couple pens. You don't even usually get those. And yeah, you will never be able to get Citadel's broadside that way. If you, however, shoot MAP through nose-on targets or stern targets, you can still certainly get Citadels. Alright, so I do have health buffs and speed buffs applied at this time, so do keep that in mind. Our torpedo angles are pretty decent. Actually quite good. Alright. Another thing about this ship, she has infinite amounts of anti-aircraft defense, and her AA defense is nothing to laugh at. I have deplaned an entire cargo before in the ship, and that's not really a laughing matter. She can, however, also equip other consumables. I believe she can equip radar, actually, as well as smoke screen, and then possibly torpedo reload as well. I'm not sure. We can take a look after the game if I remember. But there is quite a variety of options that you can equip on the ship, and each one has their own usefulness. As for me, I do not personally like radar, but I do believe she is the only British cruiser currently in the game that can equip it. So if you do like radar and British cruisers, then you might be interested in this ship. Alright, so just throwing out some high explosive shells for that destroyer. Maybe we get some hits. Maybe we got 4 hits and a fire. Alright, so we're going to try and get some MAP damage on this Hipper since she's kind of bowing. But honestly, this ship is a giant shotgun and doesn't really like to have good accuracy. As you can see here, my shells are all going over the place. And this is actually with an accuracy module and may or may not also have the crew skill. But as you can see there, I could Citadel Hipper straight through the nose. Alright, so since Miss Trashemy is deciding she wants to go hide right now in our smoke screen, we're going to pop our defensive AA for a carrier that's right here. And I didn't realize until just now. And see if we can get some more MAP salvos down towards this Hipper. So we're getting pens, but nothing substantial. I think you need the plunging fire to get the Citadels. Oh, there's the new Threshing again. Did she run aground, I think? Regardless, let's see if we can finish off both of these ships. We're getting some decent pens, nothing too spectacular. As you can see on the broadside, where I would get pens or even Citadels, I'm just getting over pens. But she doesn't need much to sink right now. And there she goes. And even against destroyers, you can see that you'll probably just get over pens. But that was still enough to sink her, so that works out. We do have a fighter. I'm going to switch over to high explosive. Maybe we can set a fire in the meantime. I really don't like this map with the carrier because they always hide behind this big island over here. And then you have to spend the entire rest of the game trying to catch them again. And so if you either go for the carrier, that means the rest of the team is sunk by the time you get there. Or if you actually ignore the carrier, you have to deal with her the entire time. Now considering I have good AA, I am tempted to go after the carrier. However, I'm trying to show off these torpedoes, which we haven't really had a chance to. So we're going to actually go and ignore the carrier for right now, and maybe come back to her later. Right, so we have high explosive loaded for that salvo, but we're going to switch over to MAP again, considering that's a somewhat bow on target. And considering we have plunging fire, we may be able to get some nice Citadels. Got a couple pens, a couple over pens, nothing too substantial. Like, you actually really have to go to mid-range to make these guns effective. Even if you have 12 shells, 90% of them are just going to be missing out. Or at least that's what it feels like. Alright, let's knock down some more torpedo bombers. Because I actually have a feeling that they're coming for me. Alright, so we sank the Sheffield. Let's turn a bows in. And yep, it looks like she was she's trying to torpedo us. We're going to slow down and dodge the torpedo. And then she's going to go focus on that Nustrashimi. So hopefully, maybe that Nustrashimi will be able to get some torpedoes on her. That'll be nice. Alright, so let's speed back up. We already capped Alpha. Let's go cap Bravo as well. It took a little bit damage from that Hipper. Maybe even a bomb hit from the Akagi. I don't know. Oh, nope. There goes Nustrashimi. But nothing too serious right now. So it looks like we're going to have to go down to the south to support our carrier against this battleship. But in the meantime, let's just try out our torpedoes against this island. So those are actually really, really fast. 64 knots, those are just like American or Japanese destroyer torpedoes. Rate of fire, however, is quite a bit. It's over a minute and a half long. I guess we can put our seaplane up again. We're still trying to take down some aircraft. So I am trying to show off the torpedoes, but as mentioned earlier, you are mainly focused on your guns and AA, which is what I've been doing this game. So yeah, you don't really have any good chance to use your torpedoes in game, except if you're trying to do area denial. Like, let's say there was a ship coming down here, I could launch some torps down there for them to dance around. Or if there was a battleship really close and I had no other option but to rush it, then I can try and use my torpedoes to get a little bit of extra damage. Speaking of extra damage, let's see if we can get this cogwood sunk while capping this base. She is right at the limit of my range, so we may not get many salvos. But we're going to try and land some hits. Well, we landed a hit, but it didn't do anything. And she's out of range. But Veneto is not. And neither is this Laffy. Alright, so we're going to rush this battleship with our torpedoes. And we're going to try and take out this destroyer with our main guns before she can torpedo us. And hopefully the Veneto actually survives, since she is under attack from our carrier. We're going to switch over to MAP, see if we can get some damage through the nose on this Veneto, considering she's already burning in two places now. We have some nice plunging fire, 4 pens through the, well, kind of not really through the nose, it's through the deck right now. Alright, so she is under attack by the carrier, but I think those torpedoes are all way too close to the island to be effective. So let's show you what we can do with these torpedoes. So we can put them out like this in a kind of deterrent, and I could go this way and hide behind the island, or I can shoot on that side and then come back across and try and use my torpedoes on the left side to rush her with. And that salvo hurt. Like how my torpedoes looking. So those first 3 missed. And they do technically have an 8.4 kilometer range, so you could shoot those out for quite some time. I'm actually going to stop firing because I could actually sink her with guns at this point. And we're going to show off these torpedoes, though I really don't need 3. There we go. Cool. Alright, so again, not really the best show of torpedoes, but you get the idea. And you can see those torpedoes just ran out. So that difference of 5 point something, was it like 5.2 kilometer difference in torpedo range is quite substantial. So if you do switch between one or the other, do keep in mind which ones you are using. It's easier to tell based on the speed of the torpedoes. So if they're slower, they're probably the ones that go out farther, but if they're faster, then they're the ones that only go out to 8.4 kilometers. Alright, we're going to switch back to high explosive. The Charlie Kappa is actually over here as well. So let's maybe send a few parting salvos back at this carrier. We've been kind of ignoring her all day, or all game I should say. But she's not going to last long against our carrier, so we might as well get a little bit extra damage, put up another heal, and we were going to cap C, but it doesn't matter at this point. So let's see how we did. $95,000 damage, so not even 100k, but we were still able to sink 3 ships, 141 shell hits, 1 torpedo hit, 33 aircraft shot down, 1 citadel, 4 fires, 2 capped bases, 3 defended caps for 14 secondary hits for 9,400 base XP, or for me with my additional buffs, 12,800 free XP. We had 30,000 damage in high explosive, 44,000 damage in armor piercing, that's the semi-armor, or the long fuse armor piercing as well, 16,000 damage in fires, which was actually pretty decent, and then torpedoes did a measly 3,800 damage. But the Veneto, to be fair, didn't have that much health at that point anyways. So not the best way to show off the torpedoes, but like I said, you are definitely not focused on torpedoes at all. If any, there's definitely going to be games where you don't use your torpedoes at all. In fact, sometimes I forget I have them, but it doesn't really matter anyways. So again, I'm kind of split on which torpedo set to offer you. I do enjoy the rate of fire. However, I do not like the slow speed and the decreased torpedo damage. And I do like the increased speed and damage here, but the rate of fire seems much too slow. But honestly, if I'm not going to be using my torpedoes as often as I normally would in other ships, then I might as well just go for the ones that hit hard and hit fast. So I think I'm actually going to keep these Mark 9 E2 torpedoes and then use that in further games. So with that, I will wrap up today's video. If you liked the video, make sure you like and subscribe. And join me tomorrow while we go over the second set of torpedoes for Neptune. So again, thank you and take care.